everyone. My name is Matthew Geely, and this is Next Point Wins. There is absolutely no chance Conor McGregor beats Floyd Mayweather. Zero chance. It's unsportsmanlike conduct. Colin Kaepernick, this one goes straight to you. Speak up. Say something. I don't care what you say, but you cannot be silent while this is going on. You are so quick to talk and to raise awareness, which is fine. And you have the right to say and do whatever you want, and I get that, and that's perfectly fine. But now is the time to use the platform that you created and say something. Good morning, Purdue University. Made it to another Friday, and a little bonus, it's Overreaction Friday. Welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. You can follow along with the show on Twitter at Matt_Geely. And you can also answer the poll question, which you'll find on that Twitter page. And the poll question of the day is, since it is Overreaction Friday after the first game of the NFL season last night, the question is, who would you pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? So who's your prediction to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? Option 1, the New England Patriots. Option 2, the field. Went into last night's game. I watched the whole thing, and my feelings going into the game were a lot different than what really happened. I'm still a believer that New England is one of the better teams in the NFL, and I'll have my Super Bowl prediction for everyone later on in the show, so we'll tease that, and I'll get you my prediction later. I thought that the world might come to an end last night during that Patriots game, especially in the fourth quarter. You saw New England get out to the early lead, scoring a touchdown on the first drive, and then they forced a fumble on the first carry by Kareem Hunt, who had a fantastic game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Looks like a budding star in the NFL just after one game. His explosion, running over people, quickness, he looked really, really good last night. So he fumbles on his first carry. New England gets the ball back. And then, there's a couple times that I would say you could question the decision-making by Bill Belichick in that New England Patriots coaching staff. I know hindsight is 20/20, but, you go for it on fourth down in the red zone in the first half when you could have taken the 3 points, and then you went for it again later on fourth down. Kansas City stopping you twice on fourth down in that game, 4th and 1 or even 4th and less than 1. Really a spirited effort by that Kansas City Chiefs defense. So Patriots 0-1, Chiefs 1-0, and the NFL season has begun. If you'd like to email the show, you can at nextptwins@gmail.com. Got some great emails last week. We will talk about those in a little bit. We have one camera here, so we got a little simulcast going. I tried it out for the first time last week, posted it, seemed to get good response from everybody. It worked perfect, so we're going to do it again. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see and hear the show today. We have 4 mics and about 5,000 records, so one camera, 4 mics, and a bunch of records here in the turntable. And, all right, let's see, got that all the way. nextptwins@gmail.com. Still no phone line yet. Waiting on word back from the station here on when that will be available. I'm hoping by the end of a couple of shows we can start getting some phone callers in here. I know a lot of people have opinions, and if you had those opinions, tweet them at me. I'll be looking at Twitter throughout the show, and we will hash out whatever we need to hash out. Last week, we'll start with some Purdue football. Last week, they began their season at Lucas Oil Stadium. I had the pleasure of going to the game and working the game for Purdue Athletics, and they lost a tough one to Louisville. A lot of bright spots in that game, a lot of energy, I'd say, from the Purdue supporting cast. I think we all went into the game nervous. I know I for sure was. I didn't want to get blown out, especially on national TV, primetime game. Purdue football doesn't get those very often, and when you get them, it's so important that you play well in front of recruits and there's the national landscape. And Purdue gave Louisville everything they wanted, everything they could handle. Before the game, I was walking through a bunch of tailgates outside the stadium, and you got your typical Cardinal fans yelling at you, saying stuff like, "Yeah, you don't stand a chance. It's gonna be a blowout, this and that." And I didn't say anything. I just kept walking because I knew going into this game that if anything would show, no matter what the scoreboard said, this Purdue team is going to play hard every single down. The energy from that coaching staff and in that locker room is shown through the players on the field, and it's something that I personally have never seen, especially these last 2 years that I've been at Purdue working alongside the team for the athletic communications office. There's an energy and a spark to that squad that it's super fun to watch, and they're only going to keep getting better. Some glaring problems that showed up were lack of depth, which you're going to get from this team. So it's a lot of new guys, a lot of transfers, and you could see in the third and fourth quarter, it looked like our defense got a little tired. And they came up big all game long. They kept Lamar Jackson in check just about all game. There was 2 or 3 plays where there was one in the fourth quarter that really stood out to me. Jackson rolled right, and he kind of did like a fake pitch, but he was trying to throw it, and then he ended up rolling all the way back left and getting like 15 yards and a first down. And all you could do is sit back and be like, I mean, that's a Heisman winner, and that's a Heisman candidate once again. He's just that much better. So it was fun to see him live. But other than that, I mean, the defense really did a pretty good job containing him and keeping him in the pocket and not letting him get out for the big play. Couple nice turnovers in the red zone for that Boilermaker defense. 2 times that it looked like Louisville was knocking on the door to get some points, whether a field goal or touchdown, and we come away with 2 huge fumble recoveries. And the Boilers couldn't quite pull it out, but definitely some excitement. There's a lot of buzz around this campus this morning. Purdue gear everywhere. People are awake, excited. No breakfast club. The bars decided not to do that this week with it being a Friday night game. So some students are getting to class and getting that out of the way because I would say, what is it, noon now? I would say that the party has either started or it sure is about to start. And it's going to be a fun evening playing under the lights here at Ross-Ade Stadium. Purdue against Ohio, 8 p.m. on Fox Sports FS1 if you want to tune in. A couple other things that stood out to me from the game last week. This was pretty fun. I had 3 celebrity sightings. 4. 3 celebrity sightings and, 4. We'll call it 4. All right, let me just tell you. So the first one, we'll go in order from, we'll judge them by how much my legs were shaking when I was talking to them. So we'll go from 4 to 1. So we'll start at number 4. I had the opportunity to see Brian Cardinal. He was out at the tailgate, and we happened to cross paths, and I got to say hi to him. If you don't remember who Brian Cardinal was, he was a really good basketball player here for Purdue. He then went on for a really long NBA career, which the highlight of that career would have to be when he played for the Mavericks back when they beat the Heat, the Dream, the Big Three, LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh. He was on that Mavericks team that beat them the first year in the NBA Finals. So NBA champion Brian Cardinal. That was the first guy I saw. Second, during the warm-ups, I was on the field, and Tim Brando walked by and said hi to me, gave me a wave, and kept walking. That was super nice. I didn't expect him to do that. He just seemed like a nice guy. It looked like he was heading over to the Purdue coaching box and maybe chat with some of the players or coaches before the game. So play-by-play, Tim Brando. He's also going to be on the call again tonight for the Purdue-Ohio game. So you can look at him and hear his voice there, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we kind of moved up a step because this next one, it was pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. And it took me a good about 30 minutes to work up the courage to go over and say hi to her. It was sideline reporter Holly Saunders, and she graduated from Michigan State. She had a pretty long career as a professional golfer on the tour, the OGPA, and then she proceeded to join the sorry, I was looking at, looks like we have some breaking news. All right, we'll get to this breaking news here in a second. She was on the tour, and then she worked for the Golf Channel, and now she's on the sideline for Fox Sports, and she was right behind me during pregame. I was on the field just watching pregame with a couple other interns, and she was right behind us, and she was getting her mic all ready to go, and she was doing some sound check, and she was going over her notes, and then she did like a whole pregame talk with the producer, and I didn't mess with her. I didn't go up to her, and I wasn't annoying. I was waiting back. One, because I knew what she was like. I got to the point now where I understand the process for the most part on what steps you take before a broadcast, and I knew that there was going to be a small window where she would have nothing going on. So that was one reason why I didn't go over. And the second reason was I was scared to death. I mean, I was like, she's gorgeous, and I think she does great work for Fox and for the Golf Channel. And so I stood there, and my interns were kind of trying to get me some confidence and tell me I can do it, and to go up to her. And then she got done with all of her sound check, and she pulled out her phone, and she was like just looking through messages or whatnot. So I knew that this was my chance. So I went for it, and I walked over and I said hello and told her how big of a fan I was, and I kind of gave her I didn't like give her a rundown of her resume because obviously she knows who she is, but I was just kind of talking about how I loved watching her on the Golf Channel and this and that. And then she was so nice, very nice lady, and she was nice enough to take a photo with me, so that was really cool. And I was on cloud 9 for about the first half of the game. Like, it took me a while. She smelled like heaven. I never smelled somebody who smelled so good and I know that's weird. That's fine. I'm an open book. I'm going to be honest about it. It's very weird, but she smelled fantastic. And you know how there's people who you say they look better in person? While she was extremely beautiful in person, we took that photo, and then later I was looking at the photo, and I was like, man, she looks better in photo than she does in person, which I didn't know was possible. That just shows you how gorgeous she was. So I think she's on the sideline again tonight. I'm not going to be a creeper. I probably won't go up to her or say anything, but, if we happen to pass each other in the elevator or something, I might just say hi again. Why not, right? So that was pretty cool. And then came the big one. And I thought that Holly Saunders couldn't be topped. I thought that was it. I was like, Purdue might win, they might lose. I don't know. But I met Holly Saunders tonight, and that's a win for me, Well, then it got better. So this is second half during the game, and there's a little bit of commotion going. Like, I'm up in the press box doing stuff for Purdue, and there's a little bit of commotion. So I kind of walked out of my there's like the suite that there's five of us interns. Make sure I get that right. Yeah, 5 interns who got to go to the game. Super nice of Purdue to let us go down and help them work and experience the entire day, which was one of the greatest work days I think I've ever had. Maybe the coolest experience too here at Purdue so far. Anyways, they were nice enough to give us our own little suite. So we were all just in there watching the game because we didn't have to work until end of quarters and halftime. And we heard a commotion in the hallway, so we walked out, and we all kind of sat down at the table because we knew somebody was around, but we didn't know who it was. But we were just kind of waiting in the weeds to see who popped out. And here comes walking out Drew Brees. Yeah, that's right. Drew Brees walks out. And immediately my heart is pounding out of my chest. I can hardly breathe. My legs are shaking. My hands are shaking because that's Drew Brees. I mean, that is an idol of mine. Super Bowl champion, Rose Bowl, Drew Brees. I couldn't believe it. He walks by, and I'm pretty sure all of us interns, our mouths are just wide open, can't even talk. He walks by and he says hi, and that was awesome. And we're so now we're all looking at each other oh my God, Drew Brees said hi to me. So that was really funny. And I was working, trying to get myself positioned to where I could get a selfie with him in the background, so I could take the photo and he'd be over my shoulder, because I wasn't going to go up and bother him. And as I'm working on that, one of the other interns looks at our boss and says, hey, can we go take a photo with them? And she goes, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, whoa. And so I immediately put my phone down because I don't need the selfie. I'm going to go get a picture with Drew Brees. So we all get up, and he's talking to somebody, so we're patiently waiting. And then he gets done and turns around, and I'm standing right there. I'm like, hey, Drew, would you mind taking a photo with us? We're interns here at Purdue. And he's like, he was the nicest guy, just the nicest guy. So we all get around him. He took a photo with Drew Brees. Awesome. And then I blacked out for about halfway through the third quarter, it seemed. I was trying to show people the picture, and my hand was shaking so bad that people were laughing at me. And it truly, I thought Holly Saunders was it. And then it just goes to show you where my allegiance really lies, because Drew Brees walks in, and I almost passed out. Coolest thing ever. Really cool. And speaking of Drew Brees, he met with the team before the game, and I want to play you his message to the team because I thought it was really inspiring and maybe kind of gets you a little pumped up before the game tonight for all you students on campus. So here is Drew Brees. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on Purdue Football. This is courtesy of Purdue Football on their Twitter. It's also on Facebook and on PurdueSports.com. So go check out the video. Show it to your friends, because Drew Brees has a message to the team and to this fan base that I think perfectly describes where Purdue football is at. Here it is.
Hey, first of all, it's an honor to be here, to be able to talk to you before this game. This is it's a big night. This is significant. You guys are the next era of Purdue football. Now, sit here for a second and think about that, all right? You guys are the next era of Purdue football. That is something to be so damn proud of, all right? Myself, Chris Clocken, Ben Smith, those are two of my former teammates. We started an era of Purdue football back in 1997 with Joe Tiller. I had a winning season for about 13 years. We ran off about 10 straight bowl games. And when we came in, we were the last place recruiting class in the Big Ten. We said, forget that. By the time we leave here, we're going to be Big Ten champs. And we worked our butts off, we believed in one another, and we accomplished that goal. That's exactly where you guys are right here, right now. I bet you all the critics and everybody else out there is probably saying, Purdue's not going to do it today. But you know what? You are. Because we all believe in you. You guys, as strong a support staff, as great a head coach, as great a university and alumni base backing you guys, and as great a group of former players backing you guys as any other school out there. And I know you've worked your tails off to get to this point. This is a new era of Purdue football. And it starts tonight. It's about all you guys doing this for one another.
So there you go, Drew Brees talking to the team before the game in the locker room. It's great that Drew could be there. He brought his kids. I saw him down before the game on the field hitting the drum. Super cool. Awesome night. It would have been nice to get the win, don't get me wrong. And there's a lot of work to be done with this team. And I think a lot of what this team is made of will be shown tonight either way, because this is an Ohio team that at home under the lights Purdue should beat. And these are games that you must win, especially if you want to go to a bowl game. So, I mean, you have Missouri next week, which is going to be a tough game at Missouri. This is the one to get. And so we'll be interested to see what happens tonight. Quarterback situation, I'm not sure. I have no clue who plays or if they both play, Blau and Sindelar. I don't know. But I think they both did pretty well last week. I thought Blau had a little more poise, but Sindelar, he hung in there. And it'll be interesting to see who gets a taste at QB1 this week. Now, we got an email here that I got it was during Friday last week, and I know we had no show last week, and that kind of is what led to this interview, I believe, and it comes from Adam in Albuquerque. Adam, thanks for contacting the show. Adam was a little upset with me, and he had every right to be. And this kind of brings us to, well, as I'm looking at it, it looks like it is. So the guys in the back, the Brainy Bunch, they put together a little report, and they mashed it with this being a you problem. And this is unprecedented stuff here. So Adam reads, "Hey Matt, love the show. Really bummed you couldn't make it happen this week. Love to know why. You're letting us down, and good luck with everything. I love unsportsmanlike conduct." Well, thanks, Adam. I'm gonna be right up front, and I'm gonna say that there was no show last week, and I posted. I said it was due to a lack of hustle. Now, what does lack of hustle mean? Well, that's where the Brainy Bunch comes in.
It's time for another Brainy Bunch special report. The mission of the Brainy Bunch is not to break news, but to bunch it. Here's the story.
Yes, there was no show last week. I was traveling. I went home for Labor Day, and with our show being Fridays at noon this year, this is going to happen every once in a while. I'm going to start there. The lack of hustle, that's on me. See, I am a student here at Purdue, as we all know, junior, and I had a paper due last week on Friday, and it just didn't happen until about Friday at 11. So because of that, I did not have time to type the paper and do the show. Now, where are my priorities? I understand. You would think that I'd choose the show over this paper, but I promise it won't happen again. We'll make sure to clean it up next time for you, Adam, and Albuquerque, and all my other fans out there. Hey, I'm an open book. I have no problem coming clean and saying that I should have been more careful and more responsible about my schoolwork, and I was not. So I do apologize, Adam, and everybody else out there.
The Brainy Bunch. We don't break news. We bunch it. The Brainy Bunch.
Don't need the double Brainy Bunch there. All right. So there we go. There's our Brainy Bunch segment. And now, see, they're sending me messages in the back. You know, these guys are a little crabby today. It's Friday. Hey, it's Friday. We got Boilermakers against Ohio tonight. And they're telling me I must play this one next. So here we go. Thank you, Dirty Randy and the boys. You're correct. It is my problem. It is not your problem. I am sorry. All right, moving on. So, other college football news and notes. We got some great games this weekend. A couple of them to point out and mention. Iowa versus Iowa State. I'll take Iowa in that one. Good interstate battle. Louisville, coming off the win against Purdue, is taking on North Carolina. I'm going to take Louisville to keep rolling. You know, they played a really sloppy game against Purdue. Tons of offsides penalties. Their center had a struggle all game long with the snap. Not in time, too early, too late, high, low. Really, it was hard to watch for most of the game. So I'm sure they got that cleaned up this week in practice and will be better. So I will take Louisville over North Carolina. You also got Georgia against Notre Dame, two ranked opponents. Notre Dame comes in at 25. I'm going to take Georgia, and I don't think it's going to be close. You're going to find out real quick. I'm kind of anti-Notre Dame, so I'll take Georgia. And then you got the two big ones. Prime time, 8:30, USC against Stanford. One of the better games on the ticket. Not the best game on the ticket, though, and we'll get to that shortly here. But still a great game. I'm going to take Stanford in that one over USC. I love that Sam Darnold, the quarterback at USC. I think he's really good. He'll be a top 5 draft pick in my opinion. Maybe one of the first quarterbacks to go. I don't know if you guys watched a lot of college football last weekend. I sure did. And that UCLA Texas A&M game, great game. Boy, was that fun to watch. Great comeback by UCLA. We'll have more on that just in a little bit when we get to unsportsmanlike conduct, because there is an unsportsmanlike conduct from that game that we will need to uncover and talk about. So great comeback by Josh Rosen and that UCLA team. He's another quarterback that I think will be going very high in the draft. And then the big game, the one that I'm most excited about, Ohio State versus Oklahoma. And that brings us to our second email of the day. And this one comes from Bob in Cromwell. Bob, appreciate you emailing into the show. He tells us that he's an Ohio State alumni. Okay, all are welcome here. I could name a lot of worse schools to be an alumni from, one being the one from the south and the Catholic school up north. So I'll take Ohio State over either one of those two. So he would like to know my take on the Big Ten, and I can give you that. My take on the Big Ten. I think Ohio State's a team to beat. No doubt about it. But with that, you know, last week they obviously didn't look very good against Indiana, especially in the first half. It was kind of making me nervous watching them against Indiana in the first half, because I didn't think Indiana was that good of a team. And Ohio State was, they were in a dogfight. Even into the third quarter, it seemed like that Indiana kind of had a little bit of momentum and they were holding on. I think this all boils down to, and then maybe there's a bigger problem here that we're missing about Ohio State, and that's JT Barrett. We all saw what happened last year in the playoffs for JT Barrett, and I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just against good teams. I don't know if I'd even call IU a good team, though. I would just say, I guess, primetime big game, but his starts are so slow. It takes him forever to get in the rhythm of the game. And, you know, if you want to be considered a Heisman candidate and one of the better quarterbacks in the NCAA, and, you've played for, 3 years now? I guess 2.5. You got to figure it out, man, because against good teams, you can't go a half playing mediocre football, because as we saw in the playoffs, you get buried and you can't come back from it. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see JT Barrett in this game against quarterback on the other side, Baker Mayfield. Great quarterback as well. So two really good quarterbacks facing off 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what JT Barrett brings to the table. Can he start fast, get out of the gate, and play hard? I think Ohio State's defense is fantastic. I think their wideouts are really, really good too. They have a great running game, but they don't go until JT Barrett goes, and they need him to go like right away. So that is, I'm going to take Ohio State to win that game. Bob and Cromwell, thank you for the email. And as far as overall the Big Ten landscape, for the East, I think it's got to be Ohio State. Penn State's pretty good. Michigan State is okay. Maryland okay. And then you got Rutgers. So I think it comes down to Ohio State and Penn State. And I think Ohio State should be considered the leader there. Michigan, yeah, I get it. I see it. I don't know if Spates, their quarterback, is good enough for Michigan to be considered elite. I think Michigan will find themselves second, or probably even. I'll go Ohio State 1, Penn State 2, Michigan 3. I think Ohio State beats Michigan. I think Penn State beats Michigan, and that puts Michigan at 3. So I don't trust that offense enough to put points on the board. I'll trust JT Barrett more than I'll trust Spates. And even adding to that, I think Penn State overall is a fundamentally more sound team than Michigan, which I think is where I put Penn State ahead of Michigan. So yeah, I'm going to have Ohio State coming out of the East. So we'll go Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, then Michigan State, then Maryland, then Indiana, then Rutgers. So there's the East. And then for the West, West is always so interesting because you take Michigan, Penn State, or Ohio State, and you flip them over to the West, and they're winning that division, which it's crazy, but it's true. I'm going to take Wisconsin to win the West, and then Iowa, and then Minnesota, and then Purdue. Yeah, that's right. That's what I said. Yep, Purdue. So I'm going to put Purdue at 4. Sure, why not? And then we'll go with Northwestern, Nebraska, Illinois. So there is what I think the West finishes out. So I think it's going to be Wisconsin against Ohio State for the Big Ten title. Ohio State takes that. Ohio State very well could run the table. I think if they lose one game to Penn State or Michigan, I think they could still make the playoff just because I think Alabama's the only team that's going to go undefeated. And if you watch that game against Florida State, that was going on the same time as the Purdue game, so I didn't catch it, but I saw the box score and some highlights. Tough situation for Florida State, losing their starting quarterback for the year. It's going to be very hard for them to put a run together. They have, I think, one of the hardest schedules in all of college football. And it's gonna be brutal, which it's tough. And I mean, Alabama played really, really well. They looked really, really good, as you'd expect. And because of that, I think that they are destined to do great things all year long. And I mean, they're my favorites to win the NCAA title for sure. So there you go, Bob and Cromwell. Thanks again for listening, and thanks for everybody who's sending in their emails and tweets and voting. We'll look at the poll question right now. Oh, I almost forgot. So I said we had breaking news early on when I was getting into my Drew Brees spiel, and that comes to us from Purdue Volleyball. If you didn't know, they are in the middle of a match right now against number 9 Creighton. The Boilermakers flirting with being ranked. They were around 24 to 22. I think they're at 24 right now. Taking on number 9 Creighton in a tournament in Missouri, I believe, and they got out to a strong 2-0 lead over Creighton. So number 9 Creighton down 2-0 to the Boilermakers. Purdue takes set 1, 25-15. Excuse me, they say set 2, 25-15. So set 2, 25-15, and they win set 1, 25-21. So there you go, Purdue Volleyball. Let's get that last set knockoff upset, number 9 Creighton. They're going to be taking on another great team in Missouri later on. I think they're ranked 7th or 6th in the country. So 2 tough matches for an undefeated Purdue Volleyball team. we'll talk later in the show. But if you want to catch Purdue volleyball at home next weekend, little shameless plug for me, Friday night, 7 p.m., Purdue volleyball, and that will be seen on btntogo.com, and I will be on the call for that. And then again on Sunday at 1 o'clock, btntogo.com. You can find me on the call. Excited to be the student voice of Purdue volleyball this year, and just thankful for the opportunity that they're giving me to do that. All right, so there is what to watch in college football this weekend. I hope everybody has ample time on Saturday to sit down and watch some college football, because there truly is nothing better in this world than a little college football on Saturday. And with that, let's move on into our next segment, and that's right, unsportsmanlike conduct.
And now, on unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Such a horrible call!
All right, here we go. Unsportsmanlike conduct. The first, we have 3 today, and one of them, I would say 2 of them are pretty harmless, and then the one in the middle is pretty serious. So we'll go with the fun one first. First, unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm sure we've all seen the story. I haven't been able to give my take on it yet, but it's going to go out to the Boston Red Sox. What are you doing cheating with Apple Watches? First off, round of applause for thinking outside the box. I mean, I never heard of somebody doing that. Stealing signs. I go back and forth on this one because, it's legal to steal signs in the MLB. There's nothing against it. Now, they're saying that it is not okay to be stealing signs with technology, which I find ironic because in the MLB, we're doing everything we can to add technology to the game. So instead, we find ourselves punishing the Red Sox for doing this. I don't think it's right. I think it's cheating. I think it's wrong what they did. You shouldn't be able to watch TV and send messages quickly down to a coach or a player on the field or whatnot and giving them a heads up on what's coming. I think it's wrong. I think there's some low-hanging fruit here that the jokes have already been made about Boston and Boston cheating and Patriots and whatnot. That means nothing to me. I don't know why that's such a thing. I don't think there's something against Boston. I think they love their sports. I think it's a great sports town, no matter how you feel about all the teams in that town. When you get the Celtics, Bruins, Patriots, and Red Sox, it's really tough to beat that. It's super tough to beat that. So I would have to say that this deserves an unsportsmanlike conduct. This shouldn't have happened. I'm not sure if the Yankees need to go tattletale about it. Why couldn't the GM just hash it out, whatever needed to happen? I don't think we needed to bring in the commissioner. And I hope that he doesn't take this too far, because as we've seen in the NFL, we take something small, like possibly deflating a ball or this and that, and we turn it into something so much bigger than it needs to be. And because of that, it turns into a PR nightmare, and it's annoying, and people hate it because it's all we talk about. So if I'm an MLB commissioner, I find the Red Sox and we move on. Don't wait and do your own don't investigate forever and then take wins away or take draft picks away, or I don't know, but don't. It's not that big of a deal. They cheated, they got caught, fine them, move on. If you blow this out of proportion and take away wins or draft picks, it becomes a bigger story than it ever needs to be. And your perfect example of that is just look at the NFL, because they do it all the time. Look at what's going on with Ezekiel Elliott right now. That can easily be an unsportsmanlike conduct. He gets to play in week 1 because of competitive advantage, whatever that means. Basically, to explain what it does mean, is they're saying that it's taking so long for the decision to come out. It's not fair to the competitive nature of the game to take out a player who's been preparing and against a team who also has been preparing to play him. So Zeke gets to play in week 1. He still has that 6-game suspension. They're talking about maybe it'll get reduced, which I don't understand. My personal opinion is if it's domestic violence, either he did it or he didn't. So if he did it, 6 games. If he didn't, no games. I don't see where the middle is. I don't see how you can justify giving him 2 games or 3 games. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I will lean more on the side of 0 games. I would lean that that's the way this is going to go, or it goes off. It goes on for so long that he plays the whole year, and then next year we go through this all again, and it all comes out again, just like the Deflategate. Even though in the end Brady he was suspended, so he got the suspension down, but at the end he still was suspended. But I would lean towards the side of Zeke does not get suspended for any games. Sports Iconic number 2. This one, this brings me back to what I was talking about with the UCLA Texas A&M game. That incredible comeback in the second half by UCLA. There was a photo going around on Twitter, tweeted out by Kevin Sumlin. He's the head coach of Texas A&M. His wife, she put out a photo of a letter that her household received. It was racist. It was hate mail. It was threatening to the family, and it was disgusting. It makes my stomach hurt. I'm not going to read you the letter. If you want to go find it, you can find it in 3 seconds on Google. Just go Google it. I don't think it needs to be said on air here. But as Sports Iconic to whoever wrote that letter, and even in a broader sense of it, to fans who don't understand how to be just fans. Never should a game of football be taken to this level. It should never happen. I don't care how passionate. And first off, if you're telling me you're a passionate fan and you're writing this, you're not a passionate fan. You're a racist. That's how it works. Passionate fans don't do this. You don't show how passionate you are about a team by sending notes like this to a family. And her tweet says something like, "Thank goodness my kid didn't open this." And that's true. Like, people don't think before they do. And that's just life. They don't think before they do stuff when they do stupid stuff like this. And it really got my goat, and I think we all need to, I think it's important when you see stuff like this to be reminded to take a step back and really think about what you're doing before you do it. I'm supposed to kind to whoever wrote that letter, and to anybody else who does, if you write emails, if you comment on tweets, if you comment on Facebook messages, like, stop. Just stop. No one cares about what you have to say. I get it. Freedom of speech. You say your opinion. That's fine. I get it. We get that beautiful opportunity here in the United States to do that, and that should be given. But be respectful. Have some respect for yourself and for other people. And number 3, this one's kind of, I don't know, I'm walking on eggshells here because I've been wanting to say something about this for a long time, and I finally saw a segment last week on ESPN that it sent me over the top, and I'm like, all right, I'm putting it in the rundown because I need to get this off my chest. Now, if you guys don't know me, I am an employee of ESPN. I've had the greatest opportunity in the world at this point to, whenever they come to Purdue, I get to help with TV and do stats and alongside the broadcasters and for basketball, football, baseball, softball, soccer, all of them. And it's a great opportunity. I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. I don't take a single day for granted. People ask me if I love it, and it truly is my life. And I just say, I'm going to keep doing it as long as they let me because it's been an amazing experience. That being said, ESPN is going in a direction that I think is going to kill the network. I think that they are on their way of falling off the cliff. And it all starts with this ESPN AM. Now, if you ever wake up in the morning and before work or school or whatever you do, you want to turn on and get some highlights, where did you go? I can vividly remember in middle school waking up and turning on ESPN for the 15 to 20 minutes while I ate my cereal before school, and I watched highlights religiously every morning. My parents, they used to make jokes to me about how much I loved watching the highlights. I loved it. I didn't miss a morning. And the best days were the days where I was sick because I'd lay on the couch and I'd watch the hour-long ESPN highlight reel, and then it'd come around again, and I'd watch it a second time because I loved it that much. Well, that's gone. And I don't know who is telling ESPN that this is the way to go, but this is what they think, or this is what I think they think. Nowadays, with social media and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and this and that, people are getting the highlights and news on their phones right away. Phones, computers, tablets, laptops, whatever. They're getting it right away. And so they think that people don't need to see that on TV, and they just want to listen to 3 or 4 people talk. and that's dead wrong. It couldn't be farther from the truth. I have Twitter, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have Snapchat, and I use them all. Like, I'm mad at myself on how addicted I am to every single one of those apps. I have the ESPN app, I have Yahoo Sports, I have Bleacher Report, I have Barstool Sports, I have them all, and I'm obsessed with them all, and I get that. But I still want to wake up in the morning and throw on the TV and see a highlight. And they do a segment every morning if you watch, and I try not to watch, I really do, because it drives me nuts, and it's called What You Need to Know. And what they do is they call it 8 minutes straight of highlights and news. 8 minutes. That's all we get nowadays. We get 8 minutes, and then I gotta sit there and listen to Mike Golick Jr. talk about, what was he talking about the other day? He was talking about facial hair and I think what he had for dinner. And it's like, dude, that's awesome, but I don't care. I want highlights. You got guys like Randall Scott, and if I was Randall Scott's mother, I'd love ESPN AM, because if I'm Randall Scott's mother, I get to just listen to my little boy Randall, my Randy. He just gets to talk and say whatever he wants. ESPN is going in a bad direction. I love ESPN. I love the company. I love working for them, but we're quickly heading in a bad direction. And I'm not critical of it. I want to help. And I think there's a true possibility out there. Now, here's my pitch on how to fix it, because this is what people do, is they come on like me and they say all this stuff, and then they have nothing to change it. They have no improvements, no ideas. And it's like, all right, cool, you're complaining. We're going to move on. Well, here's how we change it. We need a network channel that just plays highlights. And they had that. ESPN was ahead of it. They're ahead of everything. They're brilliant in what they do, and they're so far ahead. They had ESPN News, and it was constantly news. It was highlights, press conferences, and breaking news, and that was it. And now it's like every morning it's top 10 plays of the month and plays of the year and plays of the century. I don't care about top 10 plays of the month. I want highlights. So I want to start a network or a station on a network that just plays highlights. Let's call it unsportsmanlike conduct. I don't care. Let's call it whatever we want. You're seeing ESPN having to lay off all these people, and it's sad. Hundreds and hundreds of jobs are being lost at ESPN because they're trying to pay for all these big games. They're trying to pay for the college football on Saturday nights, the Monday night baseball, the Monday night football, the U.S. Open. Let's start there. How many people have seen highlights of the U.S. Open? Because it's hard to find. And I know tennis isn't popular, but there's a niche group out there that would love to see a little tennis every once in a while. Whew, all right, I gotta slow down. See, I told you, this really gets me fired up, because I think that there is an opportunity. We need a highlight station. We need a show. Fox had it. They lost it. Now they're doing Undisputed and The Herd and this and that. We have our talk shows, and First Take is First Take, and First Take's horrible and whatnot, but it's on, and people watch it, so go for it. Keep doing it. Somebody out there enjoys it, or I think they hate watch it more than they like to watch it, which is perfectly fine too. Keep that on ESPN too. That's fine. But I want from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., 6 to 10, highlights. SportsCenter AM becomes Highlights AM. Unsportsmanlike conduct to Randall Scott, his mother, and the direction of ESPN's ESPN AM. And that is the end of Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
And now, on unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15 on sportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
We're going to take a pause here for a little reset, a little 45-second reset. You are listening to Next Point Wins. My name is Matthew Geely, and this is Next Point Wins. There's absolutely no chance Conor McGregor beats Floyd Mayweather. Zero chance. It's unsportsmanlike conduct. Colin Kaepernick, this one goes straight to you. Speak up. Say something. I don't care what you say, but you cannot be silent while this is going on. You are so quick to talk and to raise awareness, which is fun, and you have the right to say and do whatever you want, and I get that, and that's perfectly fine. But now is the time to use the platform that you created and say something. Hey, we are back here. Last 15 minutes of the show. Man, the show's flying by today. Hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. Let's take a look at the poll question and the results, and I'll give you my answers. Also, as I mentioned, my Super Bowl prediction, that is coming up shortly, so stick around for that. The poll question of the day was, who do you pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? The two options are the Patriots and the field. And currently, the field at 71%. And if you're a betting man, I would take the field. Anytime you're betting, I don't bet, I don't gamble. I'm not allowed to, not really interested in it. But if you do gamble out there, always take the field just because your odds are almost always better that way. Personally, I would take the Patriots to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, and that brings me to my Super Bowl prediction. And that is where I will say, out of the AFC, it will be the New England Patriots. Who will they be facing? Well, I had to think a long and hard time about this one because I think there's a couple teams in the NFC that have a legitimate shot to go. I think the Giants are really, really good. I think that their division is the toughest, and not because it has the best teams, the best teams, but because it has the closest competition between teams. You got the Giants, you got the Redskins, you got the Cowboys, you got the Eagles. That's really, really, really tough. So I wanted to pick the Giants. I think they win that division. I don't think they go to the Super Bowl. I took a long look at the Packers. I think they're going to have a dogfight with the Vikings, though, to get out of that division, which I guess is kind of a hot take. I think the Vikings are really, really good. I think the Packers do win the NFC North and represent. I do not see them getting to the Super Bowl, though. I don't. I already mentioned the Cowboys. I think they're at least a year away. It's curious to see what happens with Zeke. We won't really know much more until we know the results of that. Plus, I think their defense is still young, still inexperienced, and they need one more year to really fine-tune it. I think next year Dallas could be sneaky good in that third year for Dak and Zeke. I ended up going with the Seattle Seahawks. I think Seattle represents the NFC in the Super Bowl, taking on the Patriots. I love their defense. I think Russell Wilson is great. I think they have enough weapons on offense to score points. I think their defense will hold just about everybody to under 25 points. And you hold a team to around 18 to 17 points a game, and you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I'm going to take Seattle against New England, and my Super Bowl champion score of 45 to 28, the Seattle Seahawks. So there we go. That is my Super Bowl prediction. Send me yours in. Tweet it, email it to me. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about my take on the Super Bowl. MVP of the regular season, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks on the planet. And speaking of better quarterbacks on the planet, for all you overreactioners today on Overreaction Friday, talking about how Tom Brady's taking a step back, and here comes the downfall of Tom Brady, this and that. Give me a break. It's one game. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's reigning Super Bowl champion. Give him a break. It's one game. That being said, I would lean on the side of this is his last year. I think there's a better chance that this is his last year than there is that he keeps playing. And I know people out there are probably either shutting off my podcast at the moment or the radio, or they drop their phone because of that. But I truly do believe this might be Tom Brady's last year. I think that if he wins the Super Bowl, it makes it harder for him to come back. But I think whatever all that stuff Giselle said in the offseason about concussions and don't want him to play football anymore, I think while that was definitely not supposed to get out, because it did, I think there's some truth to it, and I think that he has a lot going for him, and, there's not much more to prove. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. There's no doubt about it in my mind, and I think this might be it for him. So I got Aaron Rodgers as my MVP of the league. MVP of the Super Bowl, we're going to go Russell Wilson. It's just the easiest bet for me. If the Seahawks do win it, that it goes to Russell Wilson Jr. III. Worst team in the NFL, I'm going to take the Jets. They finished last, and then the Niners. Yeah, Jets and then Niners and then Cleveland. Those are my bottom three. If you go division by division, I love the Titans. I think the Titans are going to be sneaky good. Bears will be improved, but still not good enough. I see them being a 6-win team. I think 7 wins is their peak, and I think their 3 would be the valley. But I think 6 is a solid number for the Bears. I think Detroit's going to have some problems. I think they're going to be fighting with the Bears for the bottom of that division, just because, I don't know. You pay Matt Stafford all that money, and he's a pretty good quarterback, but their defense doesn't have much, and they still can't find a running game. The day that the Lions get a solid, they got Abdullah, and he's okay, but they need offensive line help, and they need a running game, because you can't put pressure on Matthew Stafford. It's not going to end well. I think the Dolphins are going to be pretty good. I think Jay Cutler is going to be a pleasant surprise for that team. I don't think he's going to be as great as everybody. I don't think his ceiling is all that high, but I think that he can be a serviceable quarterback for them with Jay Ajayi in the backfield. Speaking of the Dolphins, do want to send out our thoughts and prayers to those in the path of Hurricane Irma. Also those in Texas fighting this Hurricane Harvey aftermath. It's tough to see. I know all of us up north are thinking about all of you, and stay safe this weekend, everybody who's in that path of Irma. It looks like it's going to be a nasty one. That Dolphins game was canceled and is rescheduled for Week 11 during the bye week, and that should be the very least of our worries, problems, and I don't think it's something that really needs to be talked about if that's good or bad. It doesn't matter. Right now what matters is everybody who's stuck in Florida or posting up shop, waiting for this storm to come. It wasn't on last week, so I couldn't really give you my recap of McGregor-Mayweather. I'm going to make it really short and sweet, and if you follow me on Twitter, you saw some of my reaction there. I didn't think this fight was close. I thought Mayweather dominated from start to finish. McGregor got a couple of really nice hits in, and even his best punches didn't even faze Mayweather. And if you've ever been in a fight, or if you can imagine being in a fight, imagine somebody hitting you with the best they got, and you're like, that wasn't all that much. There's no better confidence boost in the world than knowing that there's no way this guy can touch you. Mayweather does not have heavy hands. I mentioned that on the show last time. You can go back and watch that show and listen to it on YouTube and SoundCloud. I talked about how Mayweather is not a knockout fighter. He doesn't have the heavy fists. A knockout fighter would have put McGregor on the mat in the first 3 rounds. McGregor could not do that. I think McGregor showed well. I think it was a very entertaining fight. I'm glad it was for everybody who bought it, because we couldn't have another Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, because if we have another one of those, it would have killed the boxing world and it would have killed pay-per-view. So I'm glad it was entertaining. I'm glad it went as far as it did. But I didn't think Mayweather for a second thought he was going to lose, and neither did I. He did exactly what he does. He was calculated. He paced it out. He was in great shape in that 10th round. McGregor could hardly even breathe after about round 6. And for everybody out there who's mad that the ref stopped the fight, I'm sorry to tell you that either A, thank you for watching, but you're not a boxing fan, or B, get your eyes checked. Because if you know boxing, you should know that you can't walk around the ring like a drunken sailor. If you can hardly even walk straight, you're not going to be able to keep fighting, and the ref won't allow you. I thought it was over in 8. I thought the ref should have called it in 9. And I thought that, thank God, the ref called it in 10, or else McGregor could have got seriously hurt. And this brings me back to what I said on my show last time. McGregor is crazy. He is a crazy human being. And he fought well. He did way better than I thought he would. I'll give him credit for that. He did way better than I thought he would. But I still don't think it was that close. But he is crazy, and his corner, his camp is crazy. And I said that a ref would have to stop this fight, because there is no way McGregor will stop. McGregor got paid. Mayweather got paid. They're both winners in this one. Neither of them got embarrassed. It would have been embarrassing if Mayweather lost. It would have been embarrassing if McGregor would have smelled the mat in rounds 1, 2, or 3. So neither of those two things happened. They both got paid. McGregor had a good showing. He looks good. Mayweather goes 50-0. It's all good. Everybody wins. It was a win-win-win situation. But you can't be saying that fight shouldn't have stopped. 2 more punches and McGregor's on the mat. He could hardly walk. So there's my recap of McGregor-Mayweather. Happy birthday to Adam Sandler, friend of the show. Happy birthday, Adam. He's a great actor. Love a lot of his movies. I already talked about Hurricane Irma. Let's see here, 12:55, so we have to start wrapping up the show here. What a fun day. I'm glad we could be back on air. And like I said before, we will be live again next week on Next Point Wins. You can listen live on the Tuned In app. It's WCCR Purdue, so listen there. Also, you can find me on YouTube and SoundCloud. That's where you'll find, on YouTube, you'll find the simulcast where we'll put up the video of this show. A lot of fun stuff today. Thank you to the Brainy Bunch for all their work. Had a couple reports. Got a U problem in there on sportsmanlike conduct. It was a busy day. It was a lot of fun, though. Really enjoyed it. Have fun at the game tonight, all you students. Let's get to the game, all right? I know we're going to have a lot of fun before, but let's get to the physical game, all right? They deserve it. After the performance and representation they gave us last week, they deserve those stands packed under the lights at Ross-Ade Stadium. Oh, one more thing I wanted to let you guys in on. It was pretty exciting. Last week, we had our quarterly WCCR Carry Radio meeting. It's when basically once a quarter, all of us show hosts. There's about, I don't think there's a sign in here or schedule. If this radio station plays nonstop, and there's about, I think, 18 to 20 different shows throughout the week of other students. Personally, I am the only talk show. Everybody else plays music. I think some of them talk, but none of them have like a talk-specific show. So they come in, they DJ, they play their own music, and it's a really, really cool opportunity for all of us. Well, we had a quarterly meeting where they release us the results of, they give us the stats on who's listening, because they're the only ones who can see it through Tuned In, who's listening live. I know who listens on the podcast, and that's mostly just friends and family outside of West Lafayette who don't have the opportunity to listen live every day like you students do here on campus. But I got our stats back, and last time we had the pleasure of being number one show, and I am pleased to announce that we are back-to-back champions. Next Point Wins, top show here at Carry Club, and I thank all of you because that's all you guys. It's awesome for me to come down here once a week and just kind of work on talking and getting out my opinion, and if somebody wants to listen to it, awesome. If not, I get that too. But I will say that we peaked at 902 listeners. That was our highest. We averaged around 875. So really awesome. Thank you to all 902 of you who have checked out the show. I hope you're telling your friends. I hope you'll listen on your way to class or while you're doing homework or eating lunch. I'm starving. I don't know about you guys. I'm hungry. But I want to continue to grow the show. Who knows where it's going to take us, but there's a lot of growth left here, and I'm going to try to keep mixing it up and bringing in new stuff and keeping it fresh for everyone because I love it. It's fun to do. Next goal for us is, I guess let's try to get to 1,000, 1K. We're at 902 as our peak. I'd love to see at that next quarter meeting that we got to 1,000. So tell your friends, tell family members, tell anybody who likes sports or just likes an easy show to listen to it, and we'll make some lemonade. We'll make a little magic. Like I mentioned, I'm live on the call next week, Friday night, 7 p.m., Purdue volleyball, and then again on Sunday at 1 p.m. So it's Friday night following the show. I'll remind you guys again, BTN to go. If you're a Big Ten student, if you're at any Big Ten school, you can watch these games for free. And I'm not sure if it's on BTN Plus or btntogo.com. If you go to btntogo.com, it'll tell you which one. If it's BTN Plus, you have to have a subscription. If it's not, then you can watch and listen for free. But if you are a student on any of those campuses, no matter if it's BTN Plus or just BTN, you can watch. So I hope you guys can check that out. They deserve it. As I wait here, it's almost 1 o'clock on the dot. Let's give one more look at Purdue volleyball. Let's see what the score is. And look at that. The Boilermakers have done it. 17th ranked Purdue upsets number 9 Creighton 3-1. Great win for Purdue volleyball. Let's keep that going again later against Missouri. Awesome. Really great. This is incredible news. Way to represent. Let's keep that momentum going, football team, and get our W tonight. Same to soccer. They're on the road. They're against a ranked opponent as well. Hopefully they can go out and take care of business. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all of your support. This has been Next Point Wins. Hello, everyone. We're in the trenches tonight, Matthew Geely, and this is Next Point Wins. there is absolutely no chance Conor McGregor beats Floyd Mayweather. Zero chance. It's unsportsmanlike conduct. Colin Kaepernick, this one goes straight to you. Speak up. Say something. Something. I don't care what you say, but you cannot be silent while this is going on. You are so quick to talk and to raise awareness, which is fine. And you have the right to say and do whatever you want, and I get that, and that's perfectly fine. But now is the time to use the platform that you created and say something.